Nature's wild.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to London City Council. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you may be seated. Thank you.
You've got somebody else up back there.
Okay. All right, Clerk is not here this evening, so I'll take the roll call. Mr. Eads.
I'm here.
All right. Mr. Peters, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Hayes,
Present.
Mr. Hitt,
Here.
Mr. Stahl,
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Okay. And has everyone had a chance to take a look at our minutes from our last meeting? All right. Any changes, corrections on those? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed, same sign. All right. Communications and announcements. We do not have any this evening. On to our audience concerns. I know we just got another one, but we're going to begin with Tommy Boyd.
Here.
He's step to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please. All right, thank you.
Is that mic on? Mr. President, do you realize from the last meeting, hardly any of it was recorded because the microphone wasn't working properly?
Okay, yeah, can you please make sure the microphone
I just don't know if it's on or if we need to replace that battery.
Thank you for letting me know. I wasn't aware that we didn't have sound on that mic.
Yeah, we really didn't.
Okay?
There you go.
It's on, thank you.
So tonight, mine is not really something for the city change or anything. It's more of kind of something that was brought up in here, and with the levy coming up, I figured it's something to maybe bring up. Over the last 2 years, for being somebody that drives to Columbus, working there each day, it was a pretty large change to go from $25 to $50 paying income tax each year up to $600 flat now. And so it's kind of something that I wanted to more of just bring it up as we were saying, you know, people are going out of the city trying to find more money. And it's not that the people of the city are going out of it to find more money, it's that we're going out of this city to find money. And that's where it makes this choice a little difficult. You know, I really want to make sure I'm supporting our police and firemen and getting all of that going. But it seems like we're sort of driving a wedge between the people that do work out of the city and the city itself by increasing these taxes. And I don't want to be somebody that really preaches on that, but more of just kind of something when we talk about the out-of-city income tax and being able to give that credit back. I think that would be something to look into, and I really hope that we can, especially if that levy does pass in the next couple weeks. But just kind of wanted to give my own viewpoint on that. So, thank you much.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Andrea Dillon. Dillian. Please state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
My name's Andrea Dillion, 66 East 5th Street. You'll be happy to know I just have some questions mostly tonight. First, I wanted to ask about, I have a copy of the preliminary opinion of probable project costs for the gravity sewer service, the 12-inch water main to development of property east of Spring Valley. Does everybody have one of those?
I do not have that.
Don't have one with me.
Never saw, never heard of it.
No, it's fine. Okay, so this is from your company, Burgess and Nipple?
Nipple.
Nipple, okay. Sounded better my way, but whatever. They basically are showing the cost, the breakdown of costs for the East Side Trunk Sewer, the lift station, the main force, the modifications, all that. It comes down to about $16,832,000. $3 million of that is for the sewer extension to serve $1,500 unit development east of Spring Valley, the stream crossing cost, and then the portable water transmission main to serve the 1,500 unit development east of Spring Valley, which I know is Gross's project on Summer's old farm. Who's paying for this? I mean, obviously the city is. How is this being broken down to the developer? Is he paying any cost for these extensions, for these additions to connect to his new facility he's planning on building? And how is this going to be paid for through us, the taxpayers?
The east side trunk line is not gonna go, shouldn't affect anything with Spring Valley.
This is, okay, this is, maybe everybody should have it. This is their opinion of the probable cost that was given to the city.
Well, I'm not aware of Paul Gross owning any property that should be affected.
That was,
That
Right.
was,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead, Greg.
well, I was just gonna say, Board of Public Utilities earlier in the year brought that and handed that out to us.
Mhm, the BPU, I'm sorry.
As
I should have said
as he
that.
discussed that, and it
Oh,
showed there
that's
that,
what you have?
Yeah.
and I
yeah.
think at that point, that was, at least part of that was under the understanding that we might, have to drill there for a water source
Oh,
because our water source
Yeah.
wasn't good at that time.
Right, but we did not.
Okay,
But we
Which
did
that
not,
would not-
so
that-
hence, that has been redone.
Okay.
And that is out of the equation. The primary use of this is to service the northeast side of
Right,
London.
so
That is
Amherst.
currently annexed in,
right.
right,
So for the planned stuff they're building out there.
correct.
Okay, so that brings me on to the extension of which is also from the BPU, the new sanitary sewer extensions through Amherst and back behind where the water tower is, and along 142. It's proposed that there's a current portion of it that's being taken out because it's not working properly.
No.
Do we know why, or Rex?
Okay. Right now, there's a pump station along Lafayette Street that's taking the sewage from that development and pumping it down into a gravity main and sending it over to Sharp Avenue,
Okay,
which is also handling a lot of other communities, which is kind of, whenever we have a real, a wet weather event or something other causes an overflow, and it can't really handle all that. So what we've decided to do is to take that forced main section out from that pump station down, and we're going to put in a forced main up and hit the new gravity fed line and take it that way. So all that Amherst will then be going into the existing people will be going into the new gravity feed.
Okay.
And that'll take all those homes off of those other lines that's being fed. So it's going to basically serve two purposes: expansion, and then some of the offload of infrastructure that we currently have, and utilize that larger main that we're putting in.
so that'll extend out through the new subdivisions that are, the new areas that are being built out there, out
Yes.
towards Spring Valley?
No.
It'll run along city lines across through there.
Okay,
Yeah, it's going to stay within the confines of stuff that's annexed to the city.
annexed to the city. Okay, that was my question on that.
I
All
mean,
right.
a lot of those was, a lot of that had to do with well and fresh water and stuff. The BPU had no success whatsoever finding anything outside across from Spring Valley. So they scaled that back and stayed within the city limits. And, if that ever gets annexed in or whatever, then we'll deal with that at that time.
So if there was a desire by some developer, AKA, say it be Gross, and he wanted, it would be up to the city to annex that in, and then the city would support the cost of that, correct?
We would basically supply the main trunk line. They would have to put their own infrastructure in all their community to tie
Okay.
into our,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. My next question, the salary increases you're voting on tonight. Is there any way I can get a copy of what the current salaries are for these department heads? Is it listed somewhere?
It's basically 2.5% less than what's on that paper. Exactly. We took the minimum and the maximum and increased them by 2.5%.
Okay, because the minimum, so a lot, but I mean, where they are right now. I know your Assistant Parks and Recreation Director is not at 38,000, which is the minimum.
Right. And he's not at the maximum either. He's
Right.
in the middle.
So you say I just take 2.5% of what?
Well,
The minimum or the maximum?
Both. We raised the minimum and we raised the maximum by 2.5%.
But I just happen to know what his income is, so how will, if I know what his income, what he's being paid, how will I get to where his new income will be next year?
He'll be like everybody else, that he'll be set up to get a maximum of 2.5% as
Okay.
long as his,
So 2.5% of wherever he is right now? Okay,
and those are based on, we basically base those on negotiated union contracts. Is what we do with everybody
so
else.
if, let's just say we don't have an assistant street superintendent. We don't have one. So can we put that money that you've allocated for that income back into the budget to use for something else?
It's not in the budget because there's nobody occupying that position.
But there's money allocated for it? No? Okay.
Only time we allocate money is if there's somebody going to fill that position.
Okay, so the same way with the police captain?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Rex. The resolution tonight that Greg's sponsoring for the ARP grant, what is that for? The $145,253?
Well, we'll bring it up later, but I'll answer that now. The $145,000+ what was left over from this year's allotment of the ARP
So
money.
you're just putting the money over there?
Yes.
Okay,
So it's there,
I got it.
and it has to be, it was agreed upon at the finance that it was going to be placed into the salary line for the fire department, or used for the salaries.
Okay,
Not placed there. I don't think we can actually transfer it out. We just have to spend the money that way. So that's what they've decided they want to spend it on.
that makes sense.
And, hey, Andrew, do me a favor, tap that microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope. So
Okay.
Rex, Shirley Litchfield sent me a message and said she still can't hear it. I don't know if there's anything you can control on your end.
Yeah,
Oh, believe me, I can be louder.
there's not a mute on the program, is it, for the microphones or?
Okay, no, I'm just asking
If
because,
she can hear you, she should be able to hear these.
I'll be louder.
She just was reading down.
I'm
probably.
sorry. The other resolution tonight regarding the professional services for the fire, I understand that's for the billing services for the runs, is that correct?
Let's see here, I was not at that meeting, so
Oh,
for public.
okay, I'll answer that because I had
You
a
have it.
question. Well, I had a question at the finance meeting and they kind of discussed it, but then I asked Chief Eads if he could explain that, and that is for the billing.
So this is just for the last 3 months of the year, that they need the additional 15,000 for the billings.
Yes, they've spent all of the money I think they had in that line to pay the company that does
That
the
does the
billing.
billing.
And this is at the auditor's request or her suggestion that we increase those lines, and that's one of those things.
Okay. Is there a reason why we can't bring the billing service in-house to do, since most of it's Madison County? And, I mean, it would be pretty simple to pay somebody, I don't know, $30,000 a year to just bill to the people?
There's a lot more to it than just billing. I mean, there's follow-up billing. They regulate whether or not they're a citizen, whether they don't have to pay the difference between what was insurance collected. They have to bill the insurance company. Then they turn around and bill the individuals if they're not part of the city. So there's a lot of work involved. I dare say it would take at least a full-time person, and I don't think you're going to get a full-time person for $30,000.
No,
Right.
but if it's 15,000 just for the last 3 quarters, we're looking at least 60,000 if I'm guessing.
Well, you probably, yeah. I mean, to fully equip somebody, you're not going to get somebody, get them a computer, pay them their salary, plus pay them their fringe. You're not going to be able to get them for
Okay.
$60,000, $70,000.
All right. Do we know what the contract for that company is?
They bill a percentage of what they bill.
Okay.
I don't know the specifics of that. That's why
A percentage of what they get back for us, or?
I do not know. I think it's a percentage of what they bill. And it was brought up at finance that because we're having to raise that line, that's typically a good thing. That means that we've been doing more billings than we have the year
It
before.
would be a
because-
good thing if the fire department would solve it. That would be a good thing.
Well, we're bringing in more money, so that's a
Yeah.
good thing.
The last thing is, well, second to last thing, sorry. The miscellaneous police, that's $40,000. I guess that's for like software upgrade and maintenance of equipment. Is that correct, Rex?
Again, yeah, that came up, and I checked with the chief on that. So it's software, it's maintenance fees that they have, things that they've had over the years. He explained to me that the line hasn't been increased, but there are some things that are finally, because it hasn't been increased for a few years, it's now going to exceed that number, and they needed to bump that up to get through the remainder of the year and pay for their services.
Okay.
Is that about right, Rex?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, I guess, do I talk to Kenna about getting a copy of the fire department budget? Is that who I talk to?
Yeah, Kenna,
Okay.
she will have that.
Okay, she'll have that?
She will.
All right. My last thing, and then I'll, here we are again on a community center. We need, you know what we need, you know what I'm gonna bring up. Why are we back again on asking, you're gonna have to ask the people of the city for $3 million. Okay, you might get some businesses to help, Coglin, Stanley, but it's not gonna, they're not gonna fork up $3 million. Why are we back on this again? When we have so many problems.
Well, I mean, you want me to answer that?
Yeah,
Whenever we were looking at it in the first place,
because it's the
a
mayor's
grant to do demolition work came available by the state.
Right.
We applied for it with the anticipation it was going to pass, but it didn't. But we still had the grant applied for. We were accepted and was granted the grant for
Sure.
460,
65,000, I believe it is.
something like that.
65.
So we know that at least the school for sure needs to be tore down. We've been advised by a structural engineer that the gymnasium, while it's not going to fall down in the next year or two, it definitely is in need of repairs.
Sure.
It was his professional opinion that if we hired crews to go in to do repairs, we're going to run into more things that's going to be
No,
repaired.
I
And it's
understand
going to
that
be like
this
a
is
money
not,
pit.
this is not anything that we're gonna be able to use.
Right.
and
So-
be
Yeah.
sustainable.
We don't want to, basically, we want to be able to use that money while we've got it. If we don't, and we don't have it, and then when it comes time to do it, then we're going to have to shell out more money to tear it down.
But tonight you're
Because those grants are
asking,
not always there.
you're increasing the fee that's being charged monthly for, storm sewer, correct?
That,
No.
well, there is an ordinance that is tabled
Tabled, okay.
Right.
at this
Yes,
point.
Yeah,
But it's gonna have to be raised. I mean, we all know it. There's
That's
just,
nothing to do with storm sewer.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's it for?
Well,
Sanitary. sewer.
Yes, that's
Sanitary.
sanitary sewer.
Okay.
right.
yeah.
You're gonna have to ask for an increase from the people for the storm sewer. There's no way around it. We've got the issue with the water, with the BPU, which we know that's gonna be millions of dollars. The last thing we should be thinking about is a freaking community center right now.
Well, first of all, you're talking about general funds and enterprise funds.
Yeah.
Those funds cannot mix together. So the enterprise, which is BPU, has to stand on its own as far as revenues and expenses. The city stands on its own on revenues and expenses.
But they're
We
all gonna
can't-
come to the people of London for the
I
increase.
realize that, but
So
you,
at the end of the day, I don't care where it comes from, it's coming out of my pocket and everybody
well,
else's
the
pocket.
general feeling is, and we're not building a rec center, we're not building anything like what we were proposing in the levy. We're basically looking at a metal structure, which is basically your minimal amount to construct, to be able to provide services for the children of the community.
We need a
which are-
police department, we need a fire department, we need storm sewers, we need water to be functional and working. David? I mean, it just seems to me,
Have you ever tasted water out of Columbus? It don't taste that great either, so.
it just seems to me like this is not where our money should be spent.
telling you.
I know what it is, Ray.
David,
Excuse me,
you're not speaking now.
it's Andrea's turn.
It just
please.
seems
Thank
to
you.
me it's not the time when you're already gonna ask these people and me and everybody in this room for so much more, for just infrastructure issues that we need just to live every day. And I was very upset when I came to the meeting back in February, and Pat told me, he disagreed with me, that the fact that we have water in our basements in London does not affect our property value. I've been selling real estate for 15 years. I can promise you it does. The school system, you saw, everybody's report cards went up but London's. We've got that to deal with. I mean, there's so much more than we need than the community center, or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I'm just presenting you the facts that we have a failing structure on our facility. We've been given free money
To tear down a
tear it
building,
down.
not to build one.
Not to build one, but the feeling is that our children need to have something to occupy their time and to have done. Idle hands is not a good thing to have on.
Yeah,
So-
neither is water in their basement, mold in their basement,
We're-
neither is,
Some of those things that we're working on, I'm almost positive is going to help take care of some of those issues. I've
That's all I
already
have.
said that.
All right,
thank you.
thank you. All right, that's all we have for our audience concerns. On to our committee reports. We'll start with Mr. Eads.
Okay, well, many of the items that we're going to discuss later tonight were brought up in the Finance Committee.
Okay.
Specifically, and I'll just bring up a couple things, that the income for the city year-to-date, 16,580,000. The expenses are 14,292,000. I do believe those numbers are correct. So obviously, the income's outperforming the expenses as of right now. The auditor, Kenna, thought that we were probably on schedule where we need to be at that point of the year, about 75%. Most things are right about there. You're going to see a bunch of ordinances tonight for the fire, for the police. This is to make increase in appropriations. I'll say right now, I was a little surprised. I expected to see not 11, my name on 11 ordinances or resolutions, but about 4. And I sent Kenna a question about that, and she stated that the law director pretty much wants one item per resolution. So instead of having one resolution to spend money from the fire fund that covers 5 things, it's going to be 5 different resolutions to do that.
Okay.
So I was a little surprised to see my name on so many things tonight, to tell you the truth. So we have that for the police and the fire. Quite honestly, at this point, the tax revenue is up by about 10% citywide. The fire department's up by about 17% in the fire fund, which I think is a great thing. It's just because we know that they're going to be short. So I'm glad to see that. Mr. Castle announced that we have a new code enforcement officer, if it hasn't been discussed yet. Just to bring it up, that the mayor and Rex both thought that we needed more hours for the enforcement officer. Our council president also thought we needed more hours for enforcement. So we, as a council, agreed to bump that from 10 to 20 hours moving forward. And they advised they had 25 applicants for the job. They interviewed 3, and they chose Mr. Steve Hume, who used to be the Safety Service Director for the City of London, who's now going to be the Code Enforcement Officer. Next, and there'll be a piece on this, is about rejoining the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. I think somebody else has got that.
Yeah.
And Brent Daniels, who's in the McDaniels Department, who's in the crowd tonight, he asked us if we would be willing to reinstate the 0.5% tax credit back to the citizens of London. There was a little bit of discussion at that point. No one committed to anything. And that is the finance meeting from my perspective.
All right. Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Hayes.
Okay, October 11th, we had Safety Committee meeting. The minutes from September 12th meeting were approved. The Chief of Police gave a report. Fire Chief gave a report. Mr. Hitt will give the police report. Mr. Stahl will give the fire department and the EMS report. As Mr. Eads alluded to, a new code enforcement officer was hired at 20 hours a week. Under new legislation, we talked about rezoning some property from M1 to B1 and from M1 to PUD. One of these will be a vacant lot. It will hopefully become a bed and breakfast at the corner of Street, at Center and Maple. The other property is out by the, kind of adjacent to the old football field across the street. They want to put some self-storage units in there on half of the property, and the other half will be determined at a later date. We approved those. They were sent on to the other committee, and Mr. Hitt and Mr. Stahl will present those later on this evening. We discussed joining Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. Legislation will be forthcoming tonight. Under old business, revision of codes for storm sewer drainage and new developments. It's under further study as of now. We also talked about the mowing fines for repeat offenders. That is also under further study at this time. Fire hydrant repair program is doing very well. We've had 20 major repairs done. All repairs should be completed by early November, depending on Mother Nature. Crosswalk signals, Mr. Long is working on a package for those signals at present. And next safety service meeting will be November the 9th at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Since you're the chairman of that committee, and I don't understand how this works, and maybe Rex can explain. The zoning commission, so I don't understand where that really needs to go from after they meet and discuss this, right? So they had people that applied to them wanting to change zoning. So we have 2 of these requests tonight. And I just don't understand where it's supposed to go from there once they've done that. Is it a legitimate reason to go to the safety committee? Should it
Well,
go to
Safety
the?
committee is where I report, and I report zoning issue, or building and zoning at that.
Okay. So
So-
I just didn't know what the process was.
Well, we kind of, because of timing, we didn't want these people to have to wait and probably another 30 days at least to go to planning and then come back to safety, because safety was like a day or 2 before planning. So we kind of brought it to safety first to let them know that there was a heads up, and ask them if it did pass planning, would it be okay to bring it to council? And that's what we did, just basically to try to expedite this for these people. I mean,
Well, and that also went to finance then, right? So are you saying planning or finance? It was their meeting was a couple days before
it's
planning,
planning.
the
Planning
planning
is where it has to
commission.
be. It had to be presented by the property owners, and it had to be passed by planning, and then it comes to council.
So the first step should be planning.
Again,
we
to
discussed
save
it.
the developer's time, we took it to safety first, because it's council's rules that it goes to a council committee, which planning is not a council committee. So, and we were at the end of we're getting down to the place where there's no more council committee meetings after planning. So in order to get it to this council, we brought it to safety first, with the condition, if it passed planning,
Okay.
then it would be.
Pending.
Well, I understand you're trying to save time, but the correct procedure
In a
is,
perfect world, it would go to planning, and then
And-
it would go to safety.
and then it would go to safety
Yes.
regardless, it would go to safety, and then if they go on, it doesn't really have to come to finance. Safety can just bring that on to us. Okay, I just
Right.
needed to know what the correct procedure was, because I'm not, some of these boards and commissions that meet, I just don't understand the procedure from there, because we haven't seen it yet.
Well, I mean, we ran it by Henry to make sure that that was the okay to do,
Oh, okay.
to expedite it. We didn't do it on our own. We made sure we consulted him first.
No,
But, I mean, just like everything in the construction industry, 30 days could mean another 7-8% more you're going to pay in materials. So we tried to expedite that for these people. That's all we were trying to do.
Okay, well, thanks for answering that. I just didn't understand the procedure on that.
Yeah, usually on these, they come to me first and they get the okay to bring that to the committee if it's going to go to another group first. However, on these two, I don't remember these, I remember them bringing other things, but I don't remember these two things being brought to me before they went to planning committee. But usually how that works, they just get in touch with me and I'll give them the okay or not to bring that to one of our committees so that it can come to council. However, like I said, these two, I don't remember them being brought to me first.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we may not have done that primarily because we were trying to get it in front of a committee and not bring it to council first and then go to a committee.
And then go
Maybe
to
that
it,
was the case.
right.
But according to our ordinances, anything that's approved by by planning and zoning changes is to come to council.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So, yeah, in the future, please make sure that those come to me to get the okay to do it that way. So, thank you. All right, let's see here, Mr. Hitt.
Yeah, I attended the safety committee meeting also on the 11th. So I'll give the police chief's report that he submitted, or I'll read through it. They're currently accepting applications for officer positions with 2 open positions currently. They're also generally order a Ford 2002 vehicle, but those are no longer being produced, so they are going to be getting a 2023 Tahoe for a police vehicle. The police department presented to the Methodist Church implementing a church safety plan. They participated in the London High School homecoming parade. They entered into contract with the London City School System to provide a school resource officer starting January 2023. And they're working on assignment of that position soon. Sergeant Joe Cox was accepted into the Ohio Association of Chief Police Certified Law Enforcement Training Program. And Sergeant Donovan Cooper is completing that program and is expected to graduate later this year. Officer Revilla and Langham both completed the crisis intervention training for 2022. And the police department app continues to be utilized and has over 6,600 downloads. And that's it.
That's it. All right, thank you. Mr. Stahl?
I attended the Public Safety, Finance, and the Planning Commissions. I have the Fire and EMS report. The activities and events for the month: departmental EMS training from Ohio Health, departmental EMS training, life-saving interventions, entrapment patients, Madison Health, all SCBA's annual tested, which is self-contained breathing apparatus, departmental fire training, pump training, provided EMS for high school football games, Touch a Truck fire safety talk at St. Patrick's, participated in the homecoming festivities, preschool Head Start station tour, the hose acceptance testing. That's all.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith?
I just have next BPU meeting will be the 27th in here at 6:30.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Smith,
Eads.
if you don't mind. The new meters that have been put in,
Yes.
someone asked me this, are they finding that those meters are detecting leaks as they thought they might?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
They've actually, I reported on this, I think, a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, they've already called citizens up and told them that, that they've noticed something irregular, that either the water was running all night long, and different things, and then used the one-call system, got a hold of them, let them know, and then they repaired the leaks and everything already. Yeah.
Good. Maybe for the next meeting, maybe you'll be able to ask them if they have a number.
A number of how many they
Sure,
have
sure.
fixed?
Yeah, I mean, at
Sure.
that point,
I
maybe,
could ask, yeah.
maybe you can tell us how many meters have been installed at that point, and then also ask maybe that, because I'd be curious to know.
Out of the 38, which they won't replace all 38, I think they're around 2,500 right now.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, on, let's see here, no city official reports this evening.
okay, I got a couple.
Oh, you have a couple
Just-
things? Okay, let's hear
You
from
noticed all
Rex.
this food here.
Oh, yeah. I
This
had
is
that
the
down at
community
bottom.
food drive that was collected. of which there's about 2,200 individual items that's going to be donated to local food pantries. It'll be divided up between 2 of them. And 1,700 of these items was donated through the schools. The schools did an awesome job of stepping up and helping us out. One thing I'd like to touch on, Andy, you really didn't say too much about that police cruiser. The manufacturer canceled all orders, not just ours, all orders for municipalities that had 2022 cruisers on order. They told the municipalities that they could, whenever they opened up for orders of 2023, they could resubmit their order and let them know that the price of the vehicles would be $10,000 more than what they originally ordered. Because of that, that made them the same price as the Tahoe, and that's why he looked that way. He can get them in quicker, and it's just the same price. So that was what was conveyed to me by the chief. I just thought we should touch base on that. You know, it's just a little bit more reasoning to if it's the same cost. And he said he also checked around with some of the different police departments that has those, and they're reporting better fuel economy than what he's currently using. So he thought he would give it a try since it's the same cost.
All right, thank you for that information. All right, on to our old business. We have several items here that have been tabled for a while. Ordinance 14622, Ordinance 14722, and Ordinance 15122. And from what I understand, those are still tabled, correct? Okay, no new information there. On for the third reading, Ordinance 18422, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. All right, ordinance 14822, sponsored by Henry Comer, an ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinance, providing for the adoption and publication of a new matter in the updated and revised codified ordinance, repealing ordinances in conflict therewith and declaring an emergency. So this is our new ordinances that are published through American Legal Publishing. They are already published on our website, and they're already active, but we need to get them formally published on American Legal Publishing. So this is something that we do yearly, so we want to go ahead and we've all had our different sections and taken a look at all of those. Does anyone have any questions on these?
Just a clarification, because it was pointed out earlier.
Okay,
Within that language, it says that the last time that this was updated and revised was May 16th of 2019. So this would be anything from that point forward that's not already in our books.
changed.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that that is due to COVID. That would be the time, because I think during COVID, we may not have done that, so we wouldn't have had a 20.
Don't we usually do that every 2 years?
Is that 2 years?
And I'm
or-
thinking what we're publishing would be 2021, so that would be 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that would be putting an awful lot on council to have to read those every year.
Yeah, and I remember reading those before too, so that was 2
Yeah.
years ago. I remember doing that. So, thank you, Mr. Eads. Do we have anything further on 18422? All right, what are our wishes?
I move that we adopt.
I'll second.
All right, first and second. Take the roll call for adoption. Mr. Eads,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mr. Stahl,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
All right, 18422 has been adopted. On to resolution, for the second reading, Resolution 18922, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. 18922, sponsored by Anthony Smith, a resolution authorizing the Board of Public Utilities to enter into a contract for East Side Trunk Sewer Engineering.
Yeah, so this is just what they've been looking at. This doesn't benefit one, necessarily just one developer. They've compared some other cities and different things and processes of what does a city, city's responsibility. They're looking at, I believe it's 30 inches with the gravity. Definitely going to allow for future use, just like Rex did mention today. This will help with some of the issues that we're currently having because flow will be pushed up to this line, so. But I think originally this was an emergency, but we are still not doing anything with it tonight. Let it go
Okay.
to the third reading.
All right, thank
which
you.
couldn't anyways, but-
Okay. Any other information on 18922? Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right. On to our new business, Resolution 19222, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Resolution 19222, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Okay, so, first of my 11 resolutions tonight. Resolution number 19222. This specifically has to do with increasing the salaries for the fire department, or increasing the line. All of the money that we're going to talk about in the fire department tonight, all of that money's already there in the fire fund. So we're not creating new money, we're not moving it from general fund or anything else. It's all within the fire fund. It's just reappropriating the money so it can be used. Factually, we need $195,000 in that line to get us through the rest of the year.
Okay.
However, $50,000 is going to come from this. The other $145,000 is going to come later from the ARP, that it'll pay for that. So we are trying to just reappropriate or appropriate $50,000 out of this fund to do this.
Okay. All right, do we have any other questions on 19222? All right, on to Resolution 19322, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 19322, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Once again, resolution number 19322, maintenance of vehicles for the fire department. Once again, this is all coming from Fund 228, which is the fire department fund. I asked if there was a reason why we needed to increase this. I was advised that they did have some bigger repairs than they anticipated for the year. This is only $15,000 to get them through the remainder of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on Resolution 19322? All right, on to Resolution 19422, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 19422, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Resolution number 3.
All right. It's a
And we're
tongue
going to keep a
twister.
running count. Resolution number 3, again, to be used from Fund 228, which is the fire department fund, to increase the lines, or the line for utilities for the fire department by $11,000, which is pretty much a drop in the bucket, but that is to pay the bills for the next 3 months.
Okay. Any questions? All right, on to Resolution 19522, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 18522, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Resolution number 4? Am I on 4? Everybody
Yes.
keeping track?
This
Got
is
a little-
4.
There we go. Resolution number 4, 19522. It says, from the line 228.150.54003, if you didn't look at that, for gas and oil for the fire department, it only makes sense with the gas prices being what they are, we're going to have to reappropriate more money.
All right. Any questions on 19522? All right, on to Resolution 19622, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 19622, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Number 5, 19622. I'm gonna have to watch this video afterwards before the next meeting, so remember all this. This is also an increase. This is what we talked about earlier, professional fees. So there is a company that does the billing for the fire department. We pay them a percentage, but that money is set aside at the beginning of the year. The runs are up, therefore the billing is up, therefore their services are up. So now we need to be able to pay them for the next 3 months. Chief Eads told me, I think this is average between $3,500 and $5,000 a month is what we've had to pay them. So this is money setting forth for the next 3 months to pay them.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions? All right, on to Resolution 197-22, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 197-22, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Resolution sponsored by Greg Eads, number 6 tonight, 19722, the Fire Pension Fund. So as we also have to increase their salaries, and most of the salaries, and we'll come back to that later, or we'll talk about it now, most of those salary increases had to do with the fact that they have had some overtime because they've lost a lot of firefighters. Then they're paying more. They have to pay more to a full-time firefighter to cover shift than the part-time. This has been discussed earlier, and that was changed earlier to allow a little bit of flexibility there. So when you increase the salaries of your full-time, or of your firefighters, you also have to increase the pension. The money's already in the pension line. All we have to do is reappropriate it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, on to Resolution 198-22, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 198-22, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Again, this is the ARP money, which was basically, we're going to call it COVID money that was given to the city. We had money last year, we had money this year. We've already given the fire department $800,000 this year to help cover their salaries. There was $145,253.54 left over, and we are putting that towards their salaries. We have a use it or lose it, I believe. That's something we have to use it or we would not have access to that. It can be used for any number of things, but at the finance meeting, they decided this was going to be the best use of the money. So this allows for that to happen.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, on to Resolution 199-22, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Resolution 199-22, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Number 8, increasing appropriations with the police pension fund. Same deal. When you pay more money, you have to pay more in your pensions too. That money's already there. We're not creating new money for this fund for the police. It's already in the police pension fund. Again, we're not taking this from anything else but a fund that they already have established.
All right, thank you. All right, any questions? All right, on to Resolution 200-22, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 200-22, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
So same thing, gas and oil for the police department. They're on the road 24 hours a day. Obviously, it's going to cost more to keep them on the road. This is a little different in that they don't have their own fund like the fire department does. So this money is coming from our general fund. So it's $15,000. Again, suggested by the auditor, this should get us through the rest of the year, above and beyond what they've already spent, $15,000 more to get us through the rest of the year.
Okay. And I understand there has been an increase in gas prices as well. And I've seen several other municipalities had to increase the gas and oil for their police with the price increases. And several of them had some unfavorable things happen who couldn't afford the gas and oil prices. So, all right, do we have any questions on this? Okay, on to Resolution 201-22, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 201-22, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
So I think this is my personal thought, in the future, these can probably be more line items for the police department. We wouldn't have to look at this as just a miscellaneous and take a guess at what we're spending money on miscellaneously. In this case, as we discussed with Ms. Dillion before, this is paying for software and other items like that, maintenance fees, The things that the police department has, because they have a very software, data-driven organization, right? There's a lot of things that they use theirs for. As a difference would be the rec department really probably doesn't need a lot of software upgrades. But the police department, just with what they run in their cars, right? And their body cams and everything like that has software. You have to pay to get that upgraded. So as Chief Nickel explained to me that this has been a flat line for a number of years, but this year it caught up with them. There may be years that they don't have to pay all of that. This might be an every other year thing that they're doing sometimes, and this just happens to be the year that there's a cost. So this $40,000 is also coming from the general fund to pay for those costs for the remainder of the year.
Okay. Any questions on 20122? All right, on to Resolution 20222, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Resolution 20222, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Number 11, ta-da, my last one for the night. 20222, maintenance of police vehicles. Again, I called the chief and wanted to find out. Even though we discussed it at finance, I wanted a little bit further details. I mean, this is only $5,000. He said that they did have some things that came up and some repairs they had to make, and he was a little bit more specific in that. One of the repairs that they made is actually, I think, going to save us money in that they had a seized vehicle that was given back to the city. However, it needed repairs. It's a 2019. I don't remember what it was, but it's a newer vehicle. Pardon me?
I think it's a Tahoe.
Okay, 2019 Tahoe. They intend to put that on the road as a undercover vehicle, or maybe not that, maybe a vehicle that they can drive back and forth to conferences. It's not going to have to be lighted and be a marked cruiser for that. He did say that they would have been asking in our budget next year for another unmarked car, but this will eliminate that, and he thinks that it probably saves the city. If they would have asked for one, it probably would have been about $20,000. $8,000 of the money he spent was for the repairs to that vehicle. So this is why they're over that. So I personally would think if they were going to get an undercover car, it'd be a beater with a heater. You know, I mean, you don't want it to look too good, but that wasn't the case, and they have this, and they intend to use that. So that is a big expense, and why they're asking for $5,000 more.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on that? All right, on to ordinance 20322, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Ordinance 20322, sponsored by John Stahl, an ordinance amending ordinance 215-21 to reflect the range of salaries of department heads and non-union personnel.
This is the one she got, it's 2.5% high and low on everything.
And this is the salary increase, 2.5% on the low side and
And the high
2.5% on the high side.
Yes.
And that stays right along the lines of, with the negotiation with the unions and
negotiation with all the
everything.
unions.
Now, so the department heads, they are unionized or not?
They're not.
Right, but the way that the contract,
We did a Me Too agreement years ago.
Me Too agreement, right?
Yes.
And that's what I was alluding to there, was the Me Too agreement. So that would cover them as well with the Me Too agreement. So any questions on ordinance 20322?
Maybe Rex can answer. It's, when you look at the range of these, the one that stands out the most to me is the tax director has a minimum salary of $10,455.
Don't ask me.
I mean, I'm sure that that was a part-time position, but the tax director,
I think that's why it's there, is that position. If they would have had, right now, they're able to do that with just two people.
Right.
If it needed to expand where they needed more, back before they made her a director, they might have had a part-time person in there.
well, they
I
had
don't-
3 years
Yeah, I
ago,
know.
right? They had a
Yeah.
director and 2 employees, and now they're running it with 2,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah.
It's just a number that stands
I
out because
agree
it's
Yeah.
so low on that
100%.
end.
We probably ought to change that, but there's some other reasons behind it, and I really don't know. I think it has to do with part-time potential, but I don't ever see that happening.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see here. Any other questions we have there for 20322? All right, on to ordinance 20422, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved?
Second.
All right, first and second. Ordinance 20422, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, an ordinance amending official zoning map.
Yeah, this is brought up in safety meeting and has gone by the planning commission, and they approved the application, and then it comes to council. So this area involves where the old silos were it kind of encircled by West High Street, Cherry Street, and West First Street, and the railroad tracks. And it is to be, or their desire is to change that from M1 to PUD. And their plans are to develop storage units there. And then there's some other space that's undetermined as far as what they would do with that. I think that's about it. There's a retention pond in that area also.
Okay.
They're going to put a retention pond in?
I believe so, isn't that? I think that's what the map showed.
I don't remember that.
It showed one.
It showed a retention pond.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably with that much coverage, they probably would have to put one in.
It's not a bad idea. John, do you remember what that was formerly called?
No, don't remember the cost.
What it was called,
What it
that
was
area?
called.
What was called?
You've been here your whole
The
life.
name of that area.
What was that old silo there on West High Street called?
That was Shaw Elevator.
That's right, Shaw Elevator.
Got feed there many a time.
Was
Yeah.
you living down there when that burnt?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we were standing on the corner.
I was too. I've got a really nice picture they posted in the messenger of that.
A lot of history in that area. All right.
So
Any,
there would
Go
have to be a public hearing
Yep.
December 2nd for that, or 1st, yeah, December 1st. So that'll stay on for reading, for the reading.
so we'll schedule that for a public hearing on December 1st. That's going to be our first council meeting in December. All right, on to ordinance 20522, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 20522, sponsored by John Stahl, an ordinance amending official zoning map.
This is for the lot on East Center Street and Maple Street across from M&M Diner. They're going to put a bed and breakfast in. They want to go from M1 to B1 for bed and breakfast.
Okay.
I guess, from what I understand, it's going to be like a house in the middle of the lot or something like that,
Okay.
which is something we need in town. We used to have two other bed and breakfasts, but they all kind of dissipated. And
Okay. Yeah, it's good to hear that we have the,
that'd be
Potential
used
for
by the
more
rails, the
business.
trails, a lot of it,
yeah,
right there by.
right on the trail. That would be,
It's amazing how much that is used, because M&M's got bicycles all the time there. It does make a difference.
yeah, it does, yeah. I think there was a count at one time there that showed there were about 4,000 bikers that came to that location.
Is it?
Yeah, right to that location, about 4,000 per year. But that was a couple years ago, so I'm not sure what the current numbers are, but that's a lot of traffic, because I've walked that bike trail area there myself, and I've talked to people who have biked as far as Cleveland and, all over, just on their bikes, coming through London.
There's
So
several
that's-
routes that go through besides the area,
Yeah.
our area. There's the one that goes from out west to east, and then two or three different ones. One's the old slavery route type of thing,
Yeah,
and one of them's that one. It's fascinating, the different
It
people
is.
you do meet.
Supposed to be, once it's all said and done, the way I understand, you'll be able to go across the country on your bike,
on the bike,
from east coast to west coast.
right? Because I know they had an expansion a year or so ago, and they added, I think, about 1,500 miles or so going down south through Georgia, like that, so it's really interesting.
I was riding one day and somebody passed me, "Hey, John," and I hadn't seen him in years. I find more people to talk to there than I do in town sometimes.
All right, do we have anything further?
I do have
Yes.
a question or comment.
Okay,
If you're scoring at home or sitting in the audience, if you go to the city website and you look under city council, it lists these ordinances by number and the attachments there. If you want to look at the map that shows where these things are, However, I'm looking at the map right now, and it's whopper jawed, maybe I can play with it and turn it. Is this right at the corner? So it would be between the M&M Diner, across Maple, to where those storage units are. That lot, which has sat vacant for all of these years, they want to put a bed and breakfast in there. That's
Yeah,
correct?
Kelly Mann's lot.
Right, but it's on this side of the old tracks and the bike trail.
Yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't, it's not really, I see the map, but it's not really designated with an arrow that says this is where it's at. So I'm trying to determine where that is. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, anything further? All right, on to Resolution 206. Oh, that also has a public hearing scheduled for December 1st. Okay, now on to Resolution 206-22, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Resolution 206-22, sponsored by Rich Hayes, a resolution authorizing the administrator to execute necessary paperwork to have the City of London join the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission.
Yes, Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, or MORPAC, as it's known. It's Association of Ohio Governments and Regional Organizations that envisions and embraces innovative directions in transportation, energy, housing, land use, environment, and economic prosperity. They serve a 15-county area in central Ohio. Basically, what they do in a nutshell is they try to work things for like London. They try to bring businesses here. They try to step in, make us a more prosperous city. And that's basically it in a nutshell.
They also have a team of lobbyists that could assist us in case we're trying to get an item on the capital budget or something like that. They would be a good advocate to help with that if we had a project that we wanted to bring forward to the capital budget.
All right. And that is the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, MORPC.
MORPC,
That's what it's called. Any other questions on that? Okay, on to our round table. We'll begin with Mr. Eads.
Oh, boy.
Since you're already warmed up.
Yeah, well, I've been warmed up without a doubt. Hey, I'll make this suggestion in the future, because you always either start with Anthony or I. Maybe you start in the middle some way and work around like they do.
No, I like to start on the end and work my way.
Like they do the votes, because, I mean, quite honestly, when you start with me and I'm on the service committee, and I have Josh and Brian that are both there, I mean, they don't get to say anything because I've already given a report. I mean, they can start
Talk less
someplace
and
else.
save them something.
Yeah, well, I tried to do that.
We-
Okay, so roundtable. So there is an election in 3 weeks in which we, as the city council members, went to the finance meeting and discussed this, and we, as the city council, approved language to go to the ballot. I urge each of my council members up here with me to share with others why you feel maybe it should be important for someone to vote for this levy. I've sent a letter to the editor. I've posted on my personal Facebook page. I have a sign in front of my office, and I have a yard sign, which is in the back of my truck now. And if you don't have your yard signs, I believe they have some. I'm willing to own my support of this, and I hope that each of you can also take those steps to inform the public about this item on the ballot. We've only got 3 weeks, and there hasn't been a lot of chatter about this, I don't think. So I hope you all can support it also.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Hayes?
Thank everybody for coming out tonight, good discussions. I want to thank all city employees for their job, well done. Appreciate every one of you. I concur with Mr. Eads. This is a vote that is coming up 3 weeks. We're going to try to put it on the ball game tomorrow night, put it on the radio. I've got my signs. Going to have a good city, got to have police, got to have fire, and you got to have a good EMS. We do have an older population in this city, and I live in a community where there's a lot of squad runs coming in there. There's a squad in there at least twice a day. Sometimes I've seen as many as 5 in there in one day. So I've talked to a lot of the people up there. They understand the importance of it. A lot of those people, I believe, will vote for it. We'll see what comes up. But we need our police, we need our fire. I want to thank all my council members here. Ask the Lord to protect our city, protect our citizens, keep us all safe and well. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hitt?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone that donated for the food items up here. It's an impressive amount of donations, and I'm sure it'll be put to good use for the community. I'd like to thank everyone who's showing an interest by attending the meeting tonight, and get out and vote in November. That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stahl?
I have my signs in my car to put out. First, I'd see them tonight. I was glad to see them. And also, good luck to London Red Raiders at the Beat Bell Fountain tomorrow night. They tie for the championship.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, everyone donating the food, that's great. I'd like to thank Mr. Eads, who worked extra hard tonight, and I'm sure leading up to tonight. Thank you for that. I do want to encourage everyone supporting the levy. I think it's absolutely important. We want our fire, EMS, and police to be there when we need them. I think it's great that with the taxes that we've saved over the last 3 years, and then looking at, for about the same price, we're going to get a new police station instead of just EMS services. I think that's phenomenal. And so I want to encourage everyone, get out and vote.
All right, thank you. Glad to see everyone out this evening. Also am glad to know that we do have a code enforcement officer. So I'm looking forward to the work that he's going to do here in the city, because I know that it is something that we have needed for a very, very long time. And to hear that it's Steve Hume, because he's very familiar with the city. He and we actually served on a lot of committees where we focused on some of these problem areas in the city that we thought needed some attention. So he's very familiar with the different areas that are going to need some work here in the city in order to help our city become a better place to live and to work. And, you know, I've had lots of people, like I'm sure you have, come to you complain about different buildings in the downtown and things like that. And, you know, they say, isn't there something you can do? I say, well, there actually is. We have laws on the books, you know, that are against some of these things that are going on, but we didn't have anybody to be able to enforce those. So now we do. So now I'm looking for great things to come from that. And, you know, instead of kicking the can down the road, we, you know, got together and we made this happen. So I'm glad to see the progress that we've made, and I can't wait to see the progress that we have with our new code enforcement officer. Anything else? Rex?
Just, the auditor wanted me to convey that not all the items that was on for increased appropriations, but some of them may go negative. She was kind of hoping that you guys could be able to suspend and pass, which we wasn't able to do that.
Right.
So just make you aware that if we don't have a special meeting or something, that you see budget, or the budget's printed out, the expense lines, and some of them may be negative next month.
All right. And it is glad to see everyone here tonight. We do have several people out tonight. We have our council clerk out tonight, then a couple of our council people. But thank you, you know, for everyone who has made it out. I also had someone bring to me with a concern, and it's a concern about minutes being taken at our committee meetings. According to our laws for city council, the chair of the committee can request that the council clerk be the secretary at those meetings in order to take those minutes. This was a proposal that was given to me to basically request or to look into getting a paid position as a clerk to take minutes at our committee meetings, but we already have that. So I think that if we did create a new position, that would be sort of redundant. And I know we only have about 4 council meetings now before the end of the year. We have 2 in November and then 2 in December. And that's it. We have 4 council meetings left. You know, so, and I know that we've all voted for our council clerk, and we know that there's a position, different things, responsibilities that they do have, you know, so this may be something that we want to take a look at in the future to be sure that we do have a clerk that's able to fulfill all their duties. And if they're not able to fulfill all their duties, then maybe we as a council or need to get together to revisit that to be sure that all of the bases are being covered that we need to have covered in our city council.
Do you mind if I speak to that?
Yes.
So since I'm now tasked with being the clerk of 2 different committees.
Yeah, you take very good notes, but you're
Well-
supposed to be a part of the,
So my complaint is, it's really hard, especially the finance, there's so much that goes on. It's really hard to keep accurate notes and be part of a discussion. I was elected to be part of the discussion, right? I don't mind doing the minutes, but I think there's a better way. I think if we had a clerk of committees, that's what they did. I think there's a lot more that person could do in that the sharing of information. Anthony, you're not on a single committee. You're on the Board of Public Utilities. You come to some of these meetings and don't know what's going on because you're not at those committees. The Safety Committee, I don't know what's going on before it shows up here because I'm not part of that committee. I think if there was the sharing of the information, that if the minutes were done, because I haven't really been given direction, so I'm going to tell you that my guess is I have to have my minutes done before the next meeting to present at the next meeting. Well, that's a month away. But we're going to talk about things well before that because it already went to committee and was moved on, right? So you can't read my minutes because I'm not trying to get them done the next day or 2 days later to get them to you. But if we had somebody they were paid to do that, and they could put that and send the draft notices, the draft minutes to all of us, I think we'd have better knowledge walking into these meetings, knowing what we're talking about. So Amy does a fine job. I don't have a problem with that. She can't be everywhere. And I just think this would be a good suggestion. I don't think it would cost a lot of money, but I think it would help us all have the information that we need to have when we come to these meetings.
The other night, finance, Josh wasn't there, and I ran the meeting, and I didn't want to take notes, so I appointed Greg to do it, because he's good at it, but I understand what he's saying, because I don't like to take notes.
yeah, to take notes and be a part of the meeting at the
It's
same
hard.
time. There's so
It's
much
hard.
that you miss. You know, being a
Greg's
college
very
student, same
good
thing.
at
You
it.
take notes and, oh yeah, Greg's very good at it. He's also really good, you know, interjecting knowledge and information that he has, you know, that he can better utilize his time rather than taking notes, more participating in the committee that he was elected to be in. So, you know, like I said, for the future, this is something that we may want to take a closer look at, the duties of the council clerk and if they're able to fulfill those or not. Because like he said, there's, you know, the potential position of a committee clerk, but a lot of those duties should already be covered by, you know, someone that the committee chair chooses to take the notes, which, you know, according to our council rules, can be the council clerk in order to do that, instead of, you know, maybe a committee member, unless the chair of the committee so chooses that. So, just for the future, because like I said, we're closing out the end of the year with 4 meetings left, so we want to make sure, you know, if we're all still on council, this coming year is something that we want to keep in mind, you know, in the future, for future councils. All right, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.